Hey there, how are you? How are you feeling? How are you doing? Welcome or welcome back to the Laird Experience. It is the space dedicated to the art of figuring it out, where we peel back the many facets of young adulthood, one intriguing layer at a time. This week, I wanted to do something a little bit different because I enjoyed talking a lot about what's in and what's out for 2024. When I did the New Year's episode, I thought that instead of we're gonna get a bit introspective, let me not lie, because that's just the name of the game, but I also want to just have a bit more conversation about pop culture, some of my thoughts. Just this is a random episode of the things just going on in the world and that I'm thinking of, and I just wanted to let those thoughts out since it's been a minute. I actually haven't been seeing a lot of people as much as I have needed to, so I was just like, I need to get these thoughts out into the world. And yes, let me know what you think and if anything I've said relates to you in any kind of way. And if this is your first time or not listening to the podcast, but you haven't left a comment or a review or followed or subscribed, whether this is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, then this is your moment. This is your time to shine. I'm even going to give you this little pause, this little grace period for you to be able to do the needful, as well as connect with at the Laird Experience on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, so that you just keep updated. I like to post a little clip here and there, some photographs that will inspire, that you know that you are not alone. So, as I said, do the needful. Now, I wanted to first dive in to talk about, there was this whole issue with these girls who went to Cancun, Mexico. I don't know where they went, but it was a girls' trip. And what I've noticed, especially by being chronically online, is that there are a few things. The girls' trip leaving the group chat is one feat, but also the girl group surviving the group trip is a whole other thing. And that's just a phenomenon I've noticed from social media. I can't say I have ever been concerned with going on holiday with my close friends, because actually, let's first get started. There are friends for different things. There are the few amazing friends that you may have in your life that are good for everything. They're good for the advice. They're good for a night out. They're good for when you're down and when you're up. And then there are those friends who are good for different reasons, whether they are your study friends, your work friends, your dinner and drinks friends, your always down friends, your going out friends. They should not all be conflated. I think a major reason why a lot of these girl group trips end up breaking up is because you are taking the wrong friend onto these trips. Your going out friend is not necessarily friend that you take on the trip with you. Do you understand what I'm saying? The one that you take on the trip with you is your dependable friend, the friend who has seen you through all season. You can't just be like, oh my goodness, I grab dinner with this girl every week, so she's definitely the person I should be going on a group trip with. Those are my first thoughts about why it doesn't work out. And then my other thoughts are you guys actually thoroughly communicating as a group of friends? Like, is there proper communication in place? Because if you feel like you can't have those deep conversations about light and deep-hearted topics, that is not the friend that you go on a holiday with. I'm so sorry, because there are so many things that can happen between when you leave your homes to when you return that you actually need to be with people that make sense. Now let's talk about this Mexico trip thing that just happened. And I just want to have a bit of commentary about my thoughts about how it was handled in general. Do I think it is irresponsible to go on a trip unprepared? Yes, I do. But what I find the strangest is, okay, let me ask you something. When you guys come onto social media and you air out the grievances you have with your friends, what are the expectations? Is the expectation that you're not friends with that person anymore? Because again, I have a podcast, so I know a thing or two about talking about the happenings that are going on in my life, and I don't shame anyone for wanting to do that. But I would not come here to talk about a situation that I have not spoken to the person involved in real life. Does that make sense? If I'm having an argument with my friend is not going to find out the issues I'm having with her on the timeline. The issues will first be sorted either in person, over a phone call, in the chat, and then if I bring it up to the internet, it's just to be like, this is what happened. But when you guys come onto this internet without having these discussions with your friends, what do you want to happen? I don't know if this is a clout thing where it's kind of just like, I know that I can get a following by having the most controversial situation happen with a friend, or I'm still struggling to understand what the point of this is. And somebody was like, is this your way of having social media to be the judge, jury, and executioner? I know for a fact for myself, if I went onto the internet, I'm just, casually scrolling on TikTok because that's what one does at the end of the day. When you are trying to relax, zone out, the girlies go onto TikTok. And you know what? I mean, I don't really go onto the friends segment of TikTok. I just stay on my For You page or my whatever. But I'm just trying to imagine. Imagine just casually going onto your TikTok after a long day. You're just tired. You've cooked your meals. You've worked out. You've done all the things. And you just want to relax. And you find out that your friend is dragging you on the internet. Like, you've not even had this conversation. Because it's one thing if you've at least had this conversation in person. But you've not even had this conversation. And you're just like, oh, it's like that. Like, I'm struggling to get it. I'm really struggling to get it. And also the thing that ended up happening, especially with this Mexico group trip thing, is that the person who posted themselves ended up being the villain in the story, which made the whole thing awkward because she brought her boyfriend onto a girls trip, or her man who's not her man, and then they're taking... It was a lot. It was a lot. Anyways, with the people I trust, I do not fear going on a group trip with them because I feel like we have good rapport, and I touch wood, but I'm not worried about that. I think that my friends and I could go on a group trip and come back being friends. And that's another thing. Even like the whole Miami phenomenon, I'm a dark-skinned girly, so I know that if I was going to go to Miami, there's going to be a thing or two. And I also don't have a BBL body, so there's also that. But again, it all goes back to the friends, because I know for a fact if we were all in line and I couldn't get into a club because of things I cannot change, my friends are not going to be like, oh, see you later at the hotel. They're going to leave with me because they're going to be like, this is not the type of place, the type of space we're trying to be in. That's why I think a lot of y'all's friendships end up not working out, because you're going with the wrong people to the wrong places. These are actually not your down friends. If you actually go places, like I said, with your down friends on a holiday, I really think that you will leave those trips as friends. Take my advice on this, okay? These are my thoughts and beliefs. And if you disagree with me, let me know down below. Or maybe sometimes you guys don't know who your down friends are, and maybe that's how we end up in these situations. I don't know. I just really think that airing out your grievances on social media without having a proper conversations with the affected parties is strange. It's strange. And so many times I found that, especially because these people who are coming on the timeline haven't had the prior conversations, then the person ends up stitching it or responding, which again, sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, why do you want your identity to be known? Because it's like, but I guess some people want to clear their name. You don't want dirt on your name. But I'm like, it's messy. It's messy. Okay, on to the next, because I've spoken about this for long. Okay, now here is another thought. And I want to hear what everybody has to say about this. This is my hot take. Influencer culture ruined reality TV. And let me tell you why I believe this. And if you disagree, you can let me know. Especially with shows like Love is Blind, The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. The reason those shows used to draw us in is because we knew that people were going on there genuinely to find love. Like, influence was a byproduct, especially back in the day. But genuinely, people were going on there for romance. And that's what gave us something to believe in. Something to believe in outside of the mundane 9 to 5. But the problem is, nowadays, people are going on there because they want to jumpstart their career. Like, even look at this. This is my thesis, because I'm kidding. But look at Love is Blind season 1. The success rate of Love is Blind, well, also we know that love is not blind, by the way. The experiment has failed, but that aside. When we look at Love is Blind season 1, we can see that the people actually genuinely went on there to fall in love because they did not know what could come of the show. So the people were actually putting themselves out there genuinely. But now people are going onto these reality shows, and even some people are ready to play the villain, etc. But the whole goal is to jumpstart the influencer career. I am not against people getting the bag. Go and get the bag. But now I also believe this is why The Golden Bachelor was so successful, because for the first time in a long time, people could believe that the love story that they're seeing was actually true or real or somewhat more real, because people are like thinking these 70-year-olds or however old they are not coming on here to jumpstart the influencer career. They're looking for a partner. And now that's why I believe that a lot of these things that we're seeing, especially in this current season of Love is Blind, is going on because people are here for a check. And also, because I'm a reality show connoisseur, like I've been watching reality shows for a minute. Do you remember the days of the shows used to start like Geordie Shore and Jersey Shore, when people were not afraid about their brand and image and getting brand deals? People were just so free and fun. Reality shows were so fun. And nowadays, people are just so concerned about being an influencer, which is fine. I'm not hating on that. But that is why it's just become less interesting. And that is also why I believe we should differentiate the shows that people go on to start off their influencer careers versus a show that people go on to find love. Bring back the real world where people are actually going on there to jumpstart a career. Even that's why I understand like the Jersey Shores, Geordie Shores, if they start another show, that's like, okay, they're starting a career. But if I'm watching a love show, I actually want people who are falling in love. And then this is the other thing. The standard of beauty has grown exponentially. I love beautiful people. Like I'm not hating on anyone's looks. Like I'm actually applauding the people who are on our TV screens looks, because everybody looks like a freaking dime piece. But if we compare season 1 of The Bachelor, Bachelorette versus now, the standards are insane, which is why I'm saying let's have more shows that are geared towards building your influencer careers, and then we have our shows where we can believe in love. Well, I was trying to watch, what is it called, Trust. It was I'm struggling to watch it because I thought it was going to be very much Traitors vibe, but it's okay. But at least like a show like that or Big Brother, like those things build your career. So you don't have to sell me a narrative. But that's why even like when you're watching Love is Blind, it's choppy. When I listen to the reviews, people are like, what's going on here? That's my theory. What do you guys think? Am I wrong about this? I don't think I am, but I'm willing to hear and listen to your guys' views on this. If you have or haven't been on the internet, then you would have heard about how there's a brand called Jaded London where this girl got a dress and inside she found a Shein tag. I have many thoughts about how luxury clothing is not luxury anymore. Can anybody really feel any moral high ground based off of where they're buying their clothes? Because if our suppliers are all purchasing their clothes from the same place, then are we all partaking in fast fashion? Like, I'm very intrigued by this whole concept. And then that also makes me think, then luxury clothes don't have better quality, or is everything being made in the same factory but it has a different grade of quality? I really don't understand. But then I just, at this point, it's kind of like there's less reason to be spending so much money on a lot of these clothing items if they're all being created in the same place. And then if they're all being created in the same place, we cannot be sitting here judging people for buying Shein if you're just buying Shein with a different label, you know? So when do you know when it is the right time to switch up your makeup routine? Again, this is just a random thought I've been thinking about lately because I bought this Anastasia Beverly Hills face balm. If you want to watch me try it on, I did it on my personal TikTok, not my podcast TikTok. I mean, I love it so far, but I need to try it tomorrow so I can see the wear and tear of it all. But if you're happy with your makeup routine, should you try new products? Should you try new products, or should you just stick to what you know? Well, you don't even know what you don't know. We don't know if there's better out there. We don't know if there's products we might like more. So how do we go about this? Because I've also tried a new concealer and I'm really loving it right now. My previous concealer is the Pat McGrath. Love it down. Very full coverage. She sits and she does what's necessary. I'm now currently trying the Makeup by Mario concealer and I'm liking it so far, but I'm like, what incited this? I haven't been seeing videos about it, so it's not even like I was influenced. I've tried to get out of that. I don't want to partake in hyper consumerism. I try not to buy things unless I genuinely want them. And how I know I genuinely want them is if I keep them in my basket for at least 4 weeks. Because then you just end up buying a lot of stuff and I just want to hoard I don't want to hoard anymore. And the short-term happiness of it all is like, like it feels cute for 2 minutes, but then after that you're like, now what? What next? I have to tell you guys about my new hyperfixation. I come to you all humbly, and I'm very glad to share. I'm obsessed with Dune. Dune 2 is just cinema. It is a masterpiece. I sat in that theater and I could have sat there genuinely for another 3 hours. And I can't even say like I've read the books, which I'm typically the type of person who wants to read the books first. But I watched Dune 1 and I was, not that I was not impressed, I wasn't hooked. It felt long. And then I watched Dune 2. I'm actually going to watch Dune 2 again because actually I think that thing was just freaking fantastic. I have to watch it again because this first time when I was watching it, I was so mesmerized and engrossed that I don't even know if I have downloaded everything. Like the cinematography, the acting, the casting choice, everything was chef's kiss. Am I gonna spoil anything? Let me think about it. If I'm about to spoil anything, I'll let you know. But the Bene Gesserit, I am so intrigued by these women. Why do people let them run amok? Would you say that this is the men in Dune are not misogynistic, because that would not be the term, but are underestimating the leverage, the pull that these women have? Because I'm like, why are they allowed to run up and down and run the streets and y'all are not seeing what is going on? But I'm so impressed by them. Okay, this is one spoiler. I'm not going to go into everything because I need to watch it again to refresh my mind. And if I do another one of these videos where I'm just like going off about the things going on in my head, I'll definitely be able to give you more thoughts. But okay, I'm going to tell you when the spoiler starts and when it ends. Spoiler. Oh my goodness. That scene when he tells Chani, Zendaya's character, I'll always love you, and then asks the princess for her hand. Oh, gut-wrenching. Gut-wrenching. I don't think I could take it. No, I actually genuinely know for a fact I could not take it. I could not take it because you did not just do that in front of my... And you know what? Actually, you could have done that somewhere else. Not in front of my... Chani is strong. She's so strong. Y'all, like, I just loved the whole movie. Austin Butler knows how to emote. Y'all, he had no eyebrows. Even the black and white of the Harkonnen, I'm like, oh my goodness, this was freaking fantastic. Timothée Chalamet, he ate Zendaya, of course, ate Florence Pugh, ate Anna Taylor-Joy. We'll see you soon, girl. Even the mom, she's insane, but she knows what the hell she's doing. So yeah, Dune is my current fixation. When I watch the movie, you know how sometimes when you watch a show and you're, okay, who's in it? Well, I knew everybody who was in it. And so that's not the type of Googling I was doing. I was actually on ChatGPT because I went on TikTok and TikTok could not give me all the information on the background about Dune that I need to understand. So I went on ChatGPT to ask a lot of questions. And you know what? It was so informative. And then I watched Dune 1 again at home and I understand it so much better now. Dune 2 gives so much better context to Dune 1. So if you struggled through Dune 1, watch Dune 2 and then watch Dune 1. Another thing that's been spoken about recently on the interwebs is how I don't really understand trolling because I don't like to engage in content I don't like. I don't necessarily block a lot of accounts. I just scroll past like if I don't enjoy what I'm seeing. But why do people leave hate comments? It's another thing where I can understand if maybe somebody has a genuinely bad take, so you are going to either go into the comments to educate them, and then you get to a certain point and you're like, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, so you let it go. In general, do you guys know if you engage with content that you don't like, do you know you'll see it more? Thus, the path to freedom is to only engage with content you like, because whether it is a hate comment or it is a like comment, the algorithm just sees a comment. This is just some free advice. Just don't engage or block, which is so funny because since I don't really block a lot of people because I don't engage in content I don't like, which means I don't see more of it, or I press that thing where it says see less of this kind of content. That's pretty much what I do, so I don't have to block. It just will stop showing me that. It really does kill me when I go online and I see people saying how they block people just because they don't like how someone speaks or their takes, or I mean, I can understand blocking someone for their takes, but just someone saying just somebody's vibe was off and they just block them. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so funny. That's what makes the internet a bit more fun than real life, because you can't really block. Well, you can block people metaphorically. I'm not going to see you, blah, 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 but you can't block them from looking at them. Whereas on the internet, the one perk, or one of the many perks, is that you can just block them and then you don't have to see them. So why don't you do that? Mwah. No bars. Something you will realize when you get older, and most likely we'll have a full podcast episode on this, is a body trend. So currently thin is back in. Now that I am approaching my late 20s, I am realizing a lot about body trends. So now that thin is in, I can tell you that this is what it was like existing in the early 2000s. It was all about very low-rise jeans, having flat stomachs, thigh gaps, the works. It's so funny because when I was growing up, let's say in the 2010s when I was a teenager, I went from seeing how people were like, when we went from, does this make my butt look big, to I want my butt to look big. I was so intrigued by this because I grew up with a larger derriere. Obviously, I am African girl, so that's not a shocker. So, but I hate that about myself because of thin was in when I was growing up. Then with big booty supremacy, which by that point I was not bootying enough. And so, but my point is, just like style is so cyclical, so are these body trends. Again, I do not want to tell people what they should and shouldn't do with their body because I don't know how I'm going to feel about myself in a few weeks, months. Like I probably will get work done at some point in my life, who knows. But it's also very hard to differentiate what you do for yourself versus what you do for others versus what you do for societal pressures, because all of those things are real. Societal pressures are real. The way that people respond to you is extremely real. However, now that I am now entering my second thin is in era and I am a full-fledged adult, I've just realized how all of this is just fake. This is all genuinely so manufactured that women are going to consistently have to chase and chase and chase these beauty standards until kingdom come. I promise you, in 10 years again, the BBL is going to be in again and all the thin is in is going to be like, I want to be thick, 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 thick. I say this to say, if you are not the beauty standard, though it can be extremely hard, your moment will come. Your moment will come. They are making a lot of money off of us through making us chase these standards. And you know what? I sometimes don't know if we are to blame celebrities or feel sorry for them, because I've noticed that it's a two-edged sword, right? Because they have to keep up with the Joneses. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of eyes. And when you look at the comments of people who are more influential, the comments can be a very scary place. But at the same time, they also lead the charge a lot for a lot of these pressures that a lot of people feel. Have you also noticed that recently, a lot of celebrities are speaking so much about their body? More so, it's not just that thin is in, it's just so much body talk, so much body checking. I'm body neutral. I really like to think of my body as a machine and be grateful for all of the things that it can do, that it helps me walk to the places I need to walk and it keeps me up and it does all the necessary things. I am trying to get away from really looking at my body as just an aesthetic thing, because it affects the psyche, it affects the mind, and it affects the way that I talk to it and treat it and the things that I do. As someone who has struggled with working out consistently, I have started to look at myself as I want to take care of this body for the things that it can do and all the ways I want it to serve me in the future, rather than I want it to look like this. Also, if I want my body to look certain ways, and then if you look at other people, how do we judge between what is work in the gym, what is genetic makeup, what is work on the table? It is all very hard to tell. My point with this is, I hope that, I know it's hard, but I hope that we don't fall for these body trends. I hope that we do what is right for us, for our health, and what is going to be the best for our body, the machine, in the long run. Not what the internet or magazines or tabloids or celebrities at interviews say. And also another thing with that is, celebrities or wealthy people live very different lives. Like even at the time of the BBL era, when a lot of that was being pushed and a lot of people were not talking about getting their BBLs, I'm also thinking about how the maintenance for them is completely different. They have the access to the best doctors, and not only access to the best doctors, access to the best doctors very consistently. So if they need to do a tweak, if they need to do some maintenance, if some things aren't looking as good, they can get that help. Which also goes on to my next point, because I spoke about this a little bit on my TikTok. If you had to choose between a botched face and a botched body, which would you choose? Obviously, in a perfect world, you don't want any. But which would you choose? I was telling my best friend I would rather have a botched body, because I can put on shapewear, I can put on my clothes. Like, even if your body is botched, like, you can do things to like not look that bad. But I'm like, if I have to make eye contact with myself, because I love to look at myself in the mirror. Like, if I walk past the mirror, I'm most likely going to look at myself. If I have to look past the mirror, at my botched face, I don't think I could do it, which is another reason why I'm so scared to do any work done on my face. What if the doctor goes too far? What if he makes a mistake? If they make your boobs too big, you can always change that. If you don't like that BBL, you can always get that done, even though BBLs are very dangerous and I'm very afraid of them, so I'm not encouraging that. I'm also not judging anyone for getting any work done, but you get my drift. But the face, I'm scared of the face. Because I've always wanted an eyebrow lift. Like, my dream is an eyebrow lift. If you see how I do my makeup, I typically do my eyebrows a bit higher than where my natural brow is, because I have low set brows and I have hooded eyes. So in my dream world, I'll get an eyebrow lift. But then sometimes I'm like, what if I end up looking like a cat lady? I don't want that. So my birthday is coming up soon, which is always stressful, getting older. I'm not even stressed about the whole getting older situation. I think it's the getting closer to 30. And it's not even 30 that stresses me out. It is, where will I be by the time I'm 30? Is it just me? The older that I get, days are just so... Unless someone plans your birthday, birthdays are stressful. And I don't know what I want to do. I know that I don't want to do the same thing I did last year, which before I actually got to celebrate my birthday on the weekend was by myself. So I know I want to do something, but then I'm like, oh my goodness, what do I need to do? And then I was on Instagram looking up different cake designs and cake makers. People are already booking out April, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, is it that serious that people have already booked out their cake orders? So I need to get onto that. Then I'm like, okay, which friends will hang out with which friends? What should I do? Would I want to do a dinner? Would I want to do going out? But these days I get hung over really easily, like anything, like even just wine has you go hung over and then has me distraught and slow for the next few days. But oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm going to the Davido concert in April, so it's like the week before my birthday. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so hyped. Yeah, what should I do for my birthday? That is the question. Lastly, I want to talk about taxes. Why doesn't the government just send you your taxes? Why do you have to guess how much you owe the government? Because I saw this TikTok where this girl who is an influencer was talking about how all the things that she was, I'm going to say quote unquote, gifted, because technically it's not a gift, because I mean it is a gift, but it's also to create content, so the company is getting something out of it, which when something's a gift, it's just a gift. And then she was talking about how it contributed towards her taxes, and then she owed more taxes because the company kind of does like a tax write-off on her, and people were giving advice to her in the comments. But I was just thinking about how I think it's crazy in the era of AI that we have to still guess about our taxes. Why doesn't the IRS get AI to look at what you've done and then send you a bill? And then you pay that bill. Anyways, I know that this was a random episode and you were like, what is going to happen next? What is she going to talk about next? I just wanted to get my thoughts out into the world because I have a lot of things. I actually have so much more I could talk about. I wanted to talk about women's reproductive health and how some ways it's so archaic, like the things that we have to go through. But that's like a whole other episode. So I'm going to do that. I feel exhausted. It is Easter. I am so excited because I gave up all desserts and candies and sweets and all things. So I am so excited to have myself a cookie, a cake, a Haribo, a something to celebrate the day. I hope everyone is having a lovely, lovely day, week. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a review. Follow me on all the social media such as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I cannot wait until the next episode. And do not forget that you are not alone. Keep unraveling, keep exploring, and embrace every layer of your unique journey. Goodbye.